Good day everyone, good day ma'am. I'm Elaiza Taculod, and right I'm going to report the last chapter 17, entitled Special Topics. So we have here the learning objectives. So at the end of my report, students are expected to learn the following: discuss the various special laws affecting the tourism industry, identify situations and problems where these special laws may be applied as a solution, identify some tourist establishments that implement as well as not implement these special laws. So this chapter discusses special topics and special laws that will be useful in managing and operating a tourism-related establishments. So first, as we have here, the Senior Citizen Law. Republic Act Number 9257, also known as the Senior Citizen Law of 2004, was enacted to provide senior citizens the following: so grant of 20% discount on the prices of goods and services offered to the general public regardless of the amount purchased from the establishments, a minimum of 20% discount on admission fees charged by theaters, and at least 20% discount in fare for domestic air and sea travel based on the actual fare, and 20% discount in public railways including LRT, MRT, PNR, Skyways, and fares in buses, PUB jeepneys, taxi and shuttle services AUV for the exclusive use and enjoyment of senior citizens. So senior citizens or elderly shall mean any resident citizen of the Philippines of the 60 years old. In addition, the Department of Tourism has issued Memorandum Circular Number 2006-02, which directed all that accredited restaurants, hotels, tourist inns, apartels, pension houses, resorts, and similar lodging establishments, ports and recreational clubs, centers, museums, galleries, tourist, land, water, and air transport operators to grant 20% discount on prices of goods, admission fees, and services to all senior citizens who shall avail of such goods and services and or use of said establishments. So we have here the laws on security anti-terrorism law. Republic Act 9372, also known as the Human Security Act of 2007, March 6, 2007, implements the policy of the state of protecting life, liberty, and property from acts of terrorism, condemning terrorism as inadmissible and dangerous to national security, and making terrorism an act against humanity and law of nations. So an act of terrorism is committed by any person who commits the following acts under the revised penal code. So we have here the piracy in general and mutiny in the high seas or Philippine waters, rebellion or insurrection caught the act, murder, kidnapping, and serious illegal detention, crime against destruction such as arson and violation under toxic substances and hazardous, and Nuclear Waste Control Act of 1990, Regulatory and Liability Act of 1968, Anti-Hijacking Law, and Anti-Piracy and Anti-Robbery Highway Law, illegal and unlawful possession, manufacturing, dealing in acquisition or disposition of firearms, ammunition, and explosives, so provided that the commissions of the above acts create a conditions of widespread and extraordinary fear and panic among the populace in order to coerce the government to give in to an unlawful demand. So in this regard, a police officer or law enforcement official may, upon written order of the Court of Appeals, listen to intercept and record with the use of any mode, form, kind, or type of electronic or other surveillance equipment or intercepting or tracking devices. So any communication, message, conversation, discussion, or spoken and written words between members of a judicially declared and unlawful terrorist organization, association, or group of persons of any person charged with or suspected of the crime of terrorism or conspiracy to commit terrorism. Next, as we have here the Consumer Act of the Philippines, RA 739 for April 13, 1992. The main objective of the law is to protect the interests of the consumer, promote his general welfare, and establish standards of conduct for business and industry. So the law has implemented measures to achieve the following. First is a protection against hazard to health and safety, protection against deceptive, unfair, and unconscionable sales act and practices, provisions of information and education to facilitate sound choice and the proper exercise of rights by the consumer, provisions of adequate rights, means of redress, and involvement of consumer representatives in the formulation of social and economic policies. So we have here the discussion of the law. So the following government agencies are tasked in the enforcement thereof: the Department of Health with respect to food, drugs, cosmetic devices, and substances, and Department of Agriculture with respect to products related to agriculture, and Department of Trade and Industry with respect to other consumer products not specified above. So in the informants of the said law, the government agencies mentioned above are tasked with the following functions: to develop and provide safety and quality standard for consumers' products, to assist the consumer in evaluating the quality, including safety, performance, and comparative utility of consumer products, to protect the public against unreasonable risk of injury associated with consumer products, and to undertake research on quality improvement of products and investigation into causes and prevention of product-related deaths, illness, and injuries. Next, we have here the cultural minorities, protected areas, wildlife, and heritage cultural representations. So Republic Act Number 8371, Indigenous People Rights Act of 1997, October 29, 1997. The said law implements the state recognitions and promotion of all the rights of the indigenous cultural communities, indigenous peoples, ICCs, or the IPs within the framework of the Constitution. It further enforces the following state policies. So first is the recognition and promotion of the rights of the ICCs or the IPs within the framework of the national unity and development, protection of the rights of the ICCs and IPs, recognition, respect, and protection of the rights of IPs or ICCs to preserve and develop their cultures, traditions, and institutions. So the state's commitment to take measures with the participation of the ICCs or the IPs concerned to protect the rights and guarantee respect for their cultural integrity, and to ensure that members of the ICC or the IP benefit on equal footing from the rights and opportunities which national laws and regulations grant to the other members of the population, and the state's recognition of the obligation to respond to the strong expression of the ICC or the IPs for cultural integrity, for assuring maximum ICC or the IP participation in the direction of education, health, as well as other services of ICC or the IPs in order to render such services more responsive to the needs and desires of the communities. So we have here the discussion of the law. So it is in this regard that there shall be a mechanism to enforce and guarantee the realization of these rights, taking into consideration their customs, traditions, values, beliefs, interests, and institutions, and to adopt and implement measures to protect the rights to their ancestral domains. So we have here the law, UAI, Draft Charter on the Rights of Minorities. So the lawyers' associations have a role to play in promoting and defending the individual and collective rights of minorities and their members. So hence, the lawyers' associations at an international meeting in San Francisco have decided to adopt an international charter for the purpose of seeking to ensure that the principles set below are complied with. Article number 1. With Article 1, no individual may be subject to disadvantage of any kind because he or she is a member of a particular national, ethnic, linguistic, cultural, or religious minority, or because of his or her sexual leanings. Article 2. The lawyers' associations will take steps to encourage teaching relating to the rights of minorities in law schools and in institutions for continuing education with which they are concerned, so including technique as to the nature of such rights as to the ways in which lawyers may effectively defend them. Article 3. An individual on trial who belongs to a minority group is entitled to be tried in accordance with principles guaranteed by international law. She is entitled to be tried before an independent and impartial court. So this simply shows that the advocacy to protect rights of minority communities are supported by the legal profession as manifested in declarations by international organizations. So international law is applied. So so international law is applied when a member of a minority community is unjustly tried in a partial local court of justice. Republic Act 9147, Wildlife Resources Conservation and Protection Act, July 30, 2001. The law implements the policy of the state to conserve the country's wildlife resources and their habitats for sustainability, and the law shall have the following objectives. First is to conserve and protect wildlife species and their habitats to promote ecological balance and enhance biological diversity, to regulate the collection and trade of wildlife, to pursue with due regard to the national interest the Philippine commitment to international conventions protection of wildlife and their habitats, to initiate or support scientific studies on the conservation of biological diversity. So wildlife means wild forms and varieties of flora and fauna in all development stages, including those which are in captivity or are being bred or propagated. So the Department of Environment and Natural Resources shall have jurisdiction over all terrestrial, plain, and animal species, all turtles and tortoise and wetland species, including but not limited to crocodiles, water birds, and all amphibians and dugong. And on the other hand, the Department of Agriculture shall have jurisdiction over all declared aquatic critical habitats and all aquatic resources, including but not limited to all fishes, aquatic plants, invertebrates, and all marine mammals, except dugong. So accordingly, it shall be unlawful for any person willfully and knowingly exploit wildlife resources and their habitats. So no person or entity shall be allowed possession of wildlife unless such person or entity can prove financial and technical capability and facility to maintain said wildlife. So we have here the Republic Act 7586, so National Integrated Protected Area System, Act of 1992, June 1, 1992. So this law is based on the policy of the state to secure for the Filipino people of present and future generations the perpetual existence of all native plants and animals through establishment of a comprehensive system of integrated protected areas with the classification of national parks as provided for in the Constitution. The establishments of a National Integrated Protected Area System, or the NIPAS, shall encompass outstandingly remarkable areas and biologically important public lands that are habitats of rare and endangered species of plants and animals, biogeographic zones, and related ecosystem, whether terrestrial, wetland, or marine, all of which shall be designated as protected areas. National Integrated Protected Area System, or the NIPAS, is the classification and administration of all designated protected areas to maintain essential ecological process and life support system to preserve genetic diversity. So to ensure sustainable use of resources found therein and to maintain their natural conditions to the greatest extent possible, the following categories of protected areas are hereby established: strict nature service, natural park, natural monument, wildlife sanctuary, protected landscapes and seascapes, resource reserve, natural biotic areas, and other categories established by law. Next, we have here the UNESCO World Heritage. The United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, or the UNESCO, seek to encourage the identification, protection, and preservation of cultural and natural heritage around the world. This is embodied in an international treaty called the Convention Concerning the Protection of the World Cultural Heritage, adopted by UNESCO in 1972. The mission of UNESCO's World Heritage is to encourage countries, encourage states parties to establishment management plans, help state parties safeguard World Heritage properties, support state parties, encourage participation of local population in preservation of their cultural and natural heritage, encourage international cooperation in the conservation of our world's cultural and natural heritage and cultural heritage. And lastly, we have here the tourism research. The growth and development of the tourism industry is imperative in the context of regional and countryside development. It generates employment, roughly 2.3 million jobs, trade, and business opportunities, and it also promotes strong backward and forward linkages with other industries such as transport, real estate and property development, hotels, resorts, gift shops, restaurants, jewelry, construction, among others. The passage of the Local Government Code of 1991 stated the decentralization process by devolving the tourism functions on promotion and planning to the local government units or the LGUs. So toward this end, the Department of Tourism has organized regional tourism councils or RTCs composed mostly of private sector representative as well as government counterparts from the LGUs and Regional Tourism Council. So these RTCs are mandated to coordinate all efforts in planning and promotion of tourism activities at the regional level. So as part of the function of the Department of Tourism, the tourism planning, product development, and coordination sector, which includes tourism research. Is responsible for the formulation and updating of the Tourism Master Plan. Together with its component programs, the sector monitors the effective implementation of the Tourism Master Plan and in coordination with the private sector and other government institutions, develops and conceptualizes new product and investment opportunities designed to enhance tourist sites and facilities. And that's the end of my report. Thank you and have a good day.